Hello everyone. In this tutorial, we will be discuss about a new feature of Spring Framework 6.1, that is JDBC client, which is basically part of Spring Boot 3.2. The new JDBC client introduced in Spring Framework 6.1, and this 6.1 Spring Framework is having this JDBC client API, which is basically wrapper on top of JDBC template for performing database related operations using Fluent API. So Spring Boot 3.2 is including this Spring Framework 6.1. So we will not only checking like what are the features of this one, or we are not discussing some of the, we are also discussing some of the advantages of it is. So without further delay, let's see how can we use JDBC client to implement various database operations in a simplified manner. Using this, we can do effortless database integration with Spring Boot with the help of 3.2 and this JDBC client, which is basically part of this feature. Okay, so before we started about this one, let's talk about how can we reach here, means why we are discussing about this one. So interacting with the database, like reading, writing and saving the data, is quite complex in Java. So we need to consider a lot of things, we need to build the JDBC URLs for managing the connections, right? So in the real world applications also we need to manage the connection pool, etc. So fortunately Spring came to feature and made these tasks more manageable. So using through its abstraction, we can say one is such template is the JDBC template in Spring. So the JDBC template is a solid abstraction that simplified our interaction with databases. However, it has a few cons, as it can get pretty verbose if we are building a simply CRUD kind of applications based on some resources. It demands to deeper understanding of all the things, right? We need to communicate with the database factors we need a row mapper, then column mapping we need to do, and so on. So it can be pretty tricky, right? So even with this complex, one advantages of this is it's having a complete control over SQL, which is highly used in the development, right? Now, this is where the newest features of this Spring Boot is coming. So this is called the JDBC client. So among these things, it's a being that I was talking about, that's having a table is a Fluent API, which is used to understand and read all the things basically. Okay, so we'll see how can we write this code with this one. So one of the exciting features of this JDBC client is that it is auto configure for us in Spring Boot 3.2. That means we can simply ask for a bin in our applications and we will get an instance of it. Okay. So as we know, for creating this means Spring Boot project, actually the Spring initializer is available. So from there we can easily we need to choose the dependencies and provide some name of it, like artifact name, group ID, and all those things we need to provide, so that it will give us the kind of prototype of the project, and then we need to import it in our ID, or maybe from the text editor we can do the coding, right? So let's do coding. This is very interesting thing. I hope after showing this tutorial you are also able to understand what this JDBC client, and you are also enjoying the writing the code using this JDBC client. So I will create one applications like CRUD operations kind of thing, so that I will try to manage all the methods like select, insert, update, delete, all those things. So I will also explain how, means I have already created one application which is basically having the service of the JDBC template. This particular JDBC template service, which is basically do the same thing like CRUD operation kind of thing, and just we are going to replace this one as a new JDBC client. Okay, so let's do coding and then we'll check it out how it will look and how it will be easily integrate with the database. We can how we are calling those things and how it will be look like. So let's do coding. Okay, so let's do coding actually. So for creating this project, actually basically as I was saying, so this kind of Spring Boot project we can easily create from Spring Boot in Spring initializer site. So we just need to provide the artifact name, group ID, and all those things we need to provide, as I did over for this one. So these are the things. As you can see, the version is 3.2 is the this M2. So this version actually I'm using because for getting the feature of the JDBC client. So this is one thing. As a dependency I've used this starter JDBC and then starter web, and as a database I've used this H2 databases in memory database. Okay, testing we can ignore for the timing, and this repository is also we need to use for this one. Okay, So this is overall things for this dependency wise. Now let's write for schema, like we need to create one table. So this is the user detail table. Actually I have already created actually, or it will be available in the H2 databases. Whenever we will start this one application, then you can see this table actually already created. Okay, and it's having a few fields like ID, name and address, and ID is the primary key. So what we are going to do over here, we are going to like create one CRUD operations kind of thing, and this particular CRUD actually having a get, post, put and the delete. Okay, like update whatever the card is there, like create, read, update and delete. Okay, so we are going to create one controller which basically having those APIs, and then we are also going to create one service, JDBC client service. That service particular basically having all the methods implementation of the JDBC client, and we are trying to fetch all the informations over there. And we are, for the demo, we are going to like fetch or save the data from the postman. We are trying to like call all the services. So let's create another package for this one, like package over here, and then dot maybe it's a controller. Okay, let's create one service for JDBC client. Let's create one class, JDBC client user service, for example. So for that basically we need one user entity. So basically we are going to use one record for this one. Okay, the typo, CLI JDBC client user service. Okay, so let's create one record for just mapping with the user one. So we need to create the user. Okay, and it's having a like as I was showing this schema, so ID, name, address, three fields. Okay, so ID is a string, for example, then string like name, then string address. Okay, for how this record actually working, so for the record related I've already one video already in my channel you will get, so please check it from over there, or I'll share the link in the description section. So now in this JDBC client service, actually it will be obviously a service annotation because it's a service class. Okay, so next actually we need to use this JDBC client. So how we are going to use this one, we are going to do the construction injection. So final, then JDBC client. Yes, we can get this one JDBC client. Okay, and this will be a JDBC client. Now we are going to create one constructor for this one, like public, then JDBC client user service. We're going to use this constructor and initialize this JDBC client. Okay, equal to, we need to like pass as a parameter over here JDBC client. Okay, so this one equal to, we need to assign over here. Okay, so this is done. Now next what we are going to write over here, we are going to write like what is basically for the kind of thing is required, like one is for like find all basically, right? What it will do, it will fetch all the user from the database. So for that we are going to write public, for the timing I'm keeping as a void, then find all user. Okay, or maybe just simply keep it as a find all. So for that we don't need any ID. What we need basically, based on this JDBC client, not this one, this object, we need basically JDBC client instance dot. So here we need to use this SQL, as you can see this SQL, and here actually we need to write this one, select ID comma name comma address. Okay, so select is done now. Next what we need, okay, from user underscore details. Okay, Next, over here, what we need to do, it's having a query. So it will basically return the details, like it's basically automatically handles the mapping kind of thing. As we know, JDBC, for the JDBC template we supposed to use this row mapper, but here actually it will automatically taken care of those things. But if we need our custom row mapper, then also we can do. I will show you in here like how we are going to use this one also. So here basically we need to pass this user.class, okay, and then what it will return, it will basically return a list of users. So we need to this dot list. So as you know, this is a very easy, right? And we need to return from over here, so it will be return the list of user. Now the same thing if we are do using the row mapper, so for that we need to create one row mapper class actually, okay. So how we are going to do this one, like some things like class like user row mapper, okay. We need to create this user row mapper class, and it will basically implements of row mapper, okay, and it will be having a user this, okay. Okay, we need to use this row mapper. Now we need to implement this one, implement this map row, and here basically it will having a result set and the row number. So here basically we need to return new user, okay, and here actually basically we need to pass this ID. So how we are getting those things, rs dot get string like ID, similar for the other one also, okay. So in this way, like we can create our custom row mapper, and so that also we can use, but internally it is using simple internally basically it is used by kind of the simple properties, say simple property row mapper. So using this, it will automatically perform the mapping between the bin property names to table columns name by the converting camel case to the underscore notations. So that actually automatically handle over here. But if we want to create our own custom one, then we can create using this one like ID, name, and then address. Okay. So once this is done, then we need to just return this one. So here we need to use this semicolon. Okay. So we need to create our own then row mapper. So this is very simple also. So here we can use this one, okay. So this is done. Now we can use like here if we use this one, so I can show you like how we are going to use this one. So find all, and here basically we need to, instead of find all by row mapper, okay, and here basically in this query we are going to write this new user row mapper, okay. That's all we need to do. So it will return the same thing but with row mapper. Next we are going to create another method which will basically find by ID. So let's create this one, find by ID, okay. So here actually we'll get this ID like string and ID. Now how we are going to use this one, so here basically we need to pass this param in the where clause, right, where ID equal to, and we need to use this semicolon and this ID, okay. So this ID is used for like selecting the data based on the ID, and so we need to pass this param. So here is actually param is there, so we need to pass this ID equal to comma ID, okay. That you need to pass in the param, and query is fine, then it will return also the user, and it will be a like can be maybe this using this ID maybe we can get the data or not. So that's why instead of list, it's not a list, we need to use this optional. So maybe the data is there or not, so that's why we need to use this optional, okay, so that we can avoid the null pointer exception. So this is about to find by ID. Next we need to save the data, okay. So how we are going to do that, it will be also very simple, like public then void then maybe create user. Okay, and here we need to like use this JDBcClient dot. Here again we need to use this SQL. So here basically we need to use the insert statement. Okay, like insert into the user details table, and we need to use the parameters. Okay, and next after this SQL we need to pass also these params. Okay, so here actually that can be like maybe multiple data also available. So here actually we need to pass the user as a user. Okay, so params list of like user dot id, then comma user dot name, comma user dot address. Okay, so mapping is done. Now parameter is passing, we have passed. Next we need to do the update. Okay, so what it will do, it will actually return the rows, right? So you can use the updated or maybe created. Okay, now we can check, or maybe we can return from here like how many like user is created. So or maybe you can simply use the log over here. I have used any log? No. So I can just do the sysout, like we can say user created, or maybe number of user created, and here just we need to use this one created. Okay, okay, so create user also done. Next we have to do the update. So update also looks very similar to this one. So instead of the created we need to use as a update user created. Okay, so here using instead of this we need to use the update user details, and we are going to update the name and address. So set name and address, and with this ID also. Okay, update user details, set name, address and ID. So again we need to pass this param. Okay, here like what we are going to update, like name and address we are going to update over here, and then we need to pass the ID. So here basically we need to pass this ID. Okay, here we need to pass the ID, or maybe user dot get ID, or maybe we can directly pass over here. We can directly use user dot get only ID. Okay, then we need to use this update. So number of user updated. Okay, so update is done also. Next like we need to use the delete one. So for the delete, what we need to do, we need to directly like we can say delete user from user details where ID is equal to something this, right? So we need to use this one where ID is equal to this, and we need to pass here as a ID like this one dot param, and we need to pass as a string ID. Okay, and next we need to use the update. Okay, so number of user deleted. Okay, so now like this find all, find by row mapper, find by ID, create user, update user, and it will be a delete user actually, not update. Okay, delete user. Okay, so this is done now, means this service is ready now. Okay, we just need to use the transactional so that the transaction can be managed. Okay, next, like we need to create the controller so that we can use those methods. So let's create the controller here. We can say user controller. Okay, and we need to use the mapping, like first of all we use the REST controller, and then we need to use the request mapping. Okay, so here /API, and then we need to use the private, use this JDBC template service, JDBC client user service. Okay, sorry, we need to use the AutoWare. Okay, next, right, we need to create the methods mapping all the things, like first of all we need to find all method. So what it will do, it will basically return this service dot find all. So what it will return, it will list of user, so it will be a list of user, and the mapping is a get mapping. Okay, and here actually we need to pass this path find all. Okay, so this is done, find all. Next we need to find by ID. Okay, find by ID. Here also same, we need to use the path variable for fetching the data by ID. Okay, we need to use this ID, we need to pass, and we need to use over here at the path variable and string ID. Okay, so find by ID instead of this, find by ID, and here basically we need to pass this ID. So it will work as a, okay, instead of list of user it will be a optional user. Okay, so find by ID is done also. Next we are going to create the user, so void create user. So what it will take, it will take the input as a it will post, so it will be taking as a input as a request body, and user as input, user. Okay, now here actually we are going to call this JdbcTemplate service dot create user. Okay, and once success, then it will be a post mapping, so post mapping, and the path will be like create user. Okay, and also we need the response as created, so we can set the response status. Okay, and we need to pass the HTTP status, so HTTP status would be a created. Okay, why it is not coming? Created. Okay, so this is also done. Create user is done. Next we are going to update and delete. Okay, so for update we can like do void update, and in this case we will get it will be also like put mapping for updating the data, so like put mapping, and the path is like update user slash, and it will be also like path variable, So in the body actually we need to pass this user info, and in the like path variable we are going to pass this ID. Okay. So here basically we are going to call the update service from over here, like update user. Okay, update user, and then basically I can also pass this ID. I'm not added over here, so this ID basically we need to pass here. Okay. Okay, so update is done. Next we are going to do the delete. So for that we are having the delete mapping, delete by ID. Okay, so here it will be a path variable. Okay, string ID, and here also it will be a path variable. Okay, and here instead of this it will be a delete user by ID. Here we don't need request body, and okay, and it will be a delete mapping. Okay, so now this CRUD is ready. Okay, so now like we are going to start this one, and we are going to test from the postman. So let's start this one. So how we are going to start this one? From here we just need to run this as an application, Java application. So it will not take more time. It will start. H2 console is available over here. H2, the CRUD operation is a DB name that I have provided in the properties file. Is being also this is started. Okay, so let's run this, load this H2 console. It will be a CRUD operation. Okay, to test the connection. Okay, it's not successful. Let's try this connected. Okay, as you can see the user details is available. Here is a no data. Now what we are going to do, we are going to create the user first. Okay, so for that basically we need to call this create user. Okay, so create user is there, and ID is one, name and address. Okay, so let's hit this one. So we are getting internal server. Let's check what is the issues over here. Parameter 2 is not set. Okay, so for this create user we are going to ID, name and address. Okay, we have set over here, but why it is saying? So the issue is with as there is a multiple parameter basically is used, so instead of the params basically we need to use the params. Okay, so after that let's rerun this application. It will take some time, not more time, just a few seconds, and after that it will work, because here we are passing 3 parameters, so that's why. Okay, so it started. Now try to run this one. Okay, you can see the created. Now we can check the database. Okay, okay, data is inserted successfully over here. Okay, so now let's create to another data with 2 ID. Okay, try the database. 2 data is over here. Okay, now like we will do the like other operations like find all, and then find all is done. Okay, find all, let's try to call this find all one. So for this find all, what do we need to do? We need to go over here postman. It will be a get request, so we will create another request as a get, and instead of this here we will do find all. Okay, it will fetch the two datas. Now suppose find by ID, if we try to call find by ID and we need to pass the ID like 1, so it will fetch the 1. Now if suppose it's the 2, so it will actually fetch the 2 database. Two whatever the data is in our database, so that particular record actually it's fetching. Okay, so in this way, like we can do all the things like create, find all, find by ID. We can also like delete the user, so we can try with this one, delete by ID. So let's from the postman delete by ID, we are deleting the ID which is having the 2. Okay, so if we do so, okay, method not allowed. Okay, we need to do as a delete. Okay, as you can see that it's a delete method. So okay, deleted successfully. Now if we see the database, so okay, 2 data means whatever the ID is, the 2 is there, so that is deleted now. And also we can update the data like as a let's check this update one also, localhost. So here actually it's a update user and it is a put method, so we need to pass this body and it will having a same request. So let me copy from over here and we need to pass this ID. It will be a JSON and here we need to pass this ID as 1. Okay, ID is 1, it's not required even. So instead of test we can say demo user. Okay, and address is test. So what it will say, internal server error. Let's check for the update user ID, and here we are passing the, okay, it will be again a params. Let's off this one and rerun it again. Okay, it is started. Now we can do the update operations. It's success. Now if we check the, okay, actually data is not here, so we need to first create the data. First we need to create with 2 ID. It's success now. Now we need to do a update. Okay, 2 and here it will be a 2. Success now. You can see the name is updated. Okay, so this is the like mechanism that in this way like we can like do those kind of things. Okay, this JDBC client API take care of dynamically creating the row mapper by using simple property row mapper. It will perform the mapping between the bin property names to the table columns name. So this JDBC client API provides a nice fluent API to implement data access layer using JDBC. So that's all about this explanation of the new JDBC client in the Spring Framework 6.1 and Spring Boot 3.2. It simplifies the complex tasks like a fluent API with easy setup for the use of Spring project. If you guys have anything, please do let me know in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.